Hey everybody, it's Jeff, and this is the Indie Game Legend 3D development log, week 3. So this week had some pretty big highs and lows, and so I guess we'll just get right into it. Monday was actually a terrible day. I was attempting to implement game saves at checkpoints using a third-party asset that I was hoping would make it easy, since game saves are anything but easy. It was the top-rated game load and save asset, but it straight up didn't work. What's worse, it actually deleted a bunch of data on the scene. Fucking deleted a ton of data. Fucking dumb shits. Oh, God. Luckily, I had just started versioning the project last Friday, and I hadn't really made many other changes since, so it was fine. But I deleted the asset, I wanted to burn it in a fire, leave a scathing review, but instead I looked into the real amount of work game saving would be without some kind of asset, and realized I probably wouldn't be able to implement it until I redo a few core systems first. The one tiny thing I did get done that day was make checkpoints restore health. Tuesday was much more productive. I spent the day balancing the game and making it a little less impossible to play. This involved adding a bunch of things. First, adding an extra initial heart, slowing down player movement just slightly, making the nub enemies non-blocking, adding a brief invulnerability period after getting hit, making sure health restoring checkpoints reset after significant milestones, making crates drop hearts on rare occasion, and communicating player damage with a visual flash. And it turns out all this really helped a lot, so it was a pretty successful day. Huge improvement today. Wednesday was a short day. It wasn't crazy productive, but it was fun because there was a lot of activity in the chat. The main thing I got done was a full map screen, allowing the player to see all the rooms they've explored and their position on that map. Although functional, there are still aspects that I didn't think were quite right, but I guess good enough for now. By Thursday, the game was pretty ready for player feedback, so I sent a build to Paul, but he was away visiting family, so I started to go down a list of R&D tasks that had to be explored before we could expand on content production. First, I wanted to see if certain floor tiles would benefit from actual depth in their meshes. Unfortunately, nothing really worked. It didn't really read very well, perhaps with new art, but it wasn't really important enough to go very deep, so I stopped there. Next was actually important, going from static wall models to tile-based walls. This would let us add more variation and detail to rooms in the same way as floor tiles. I recreated the walls as component shapes for use as tiles, and also experimented with a door frame for corridors, which I'm not quite sold on yet. Then using some new art from Paul, there was a period of importing and creating prefabs for all the different wall tiles. Finally, I was able to create a test room by the end of the day. Although not perfect, it did show that rooms would be much more interesting with wall textures. In fact, the existing rooms seem pretty bare in comparison, so I'm looking forward to finishing this up and redoing all the room walls. Friday was a great, productive day. After sending the build to Paul, I realized there were actually a bunch of smaller fixes and enhancements that should go in to really get the most out of playtesting. First, explosives now damage you and give force feedback. Related, the boss and bub enemies were harmless because they were not attacking you, so I fixed that. I also went around tuning the attack damages of other enemies. Another notable change, I increased the size of nubs. I don't know if they were too small before, but this is a good size. It'll just take some getting used to. Your special weapon can now be used with the left trigger instead of toggling it. This makes it easier to use and I think more fun as well. Electric tiles now damage you instead of killing you, as they should have. Lastly, I cleaned up the map screen a bit and added the objective indicator. So I guess Friday made up for some of the less productive days in the week. Next week I have jury duty, so I don't know how that's gonna go. but I was already considering taking a week off because we've been making great progress so far. Instead, I can just try and get a ton of playtesting done and build up a list of items to come back to. Otherwise, I do have some more R&D tasks to do before February, where we'll be building out the next sector of the game. So thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next couple weeks.